Okay, I'm going to do a different reading today. We're doing a little Living Buddhism. This is from February 2024. I have stacks of them in my car all over the place. I finally found this one. Okay, let's read. Let's read The Pioneering Spirit, chronicling the 40th anniversary of Ikeda Sensei's February 1984 visit to Dallas. That's one of the conventions I didn't get to go to. A lot of my friends did, but I played the Dallas song. What a dun 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 da 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 da. Oh, I'd already read up to. I guess I read for you guys before in this one up to page 24. From uniformity to diversity. Number 2. This is Principles of Peace. This is from the 3 transformations, freeing humanity from warfare and violence. The first one was from knowledge to wisdom. The second one is from uniformity to diversity. The wisdom of Buddhism can also shed considerable light on the question of diversity, because one central tenet of Buddhism is that universal value must be sought within the life of the individual. It works fundamentally to counter any attempt to enforce uniformity or standardization until it comes to the COVID coup, and then they wanted everyone to get fucking vaccinated. Excuse my French. In the teachings of Nichiren Daishonin, we find the passage, quote, the cherry, the plum, the peach, and the damson without undergoing any change. This passage confirms that there is no need for everyone to become, quote, cherries or plums, but that each should manifest the unique brilliance of their own character. And I can be a prickly pear. This simile points to the fundamental principle of appreciation for diversity that applies equally to human beings and to social and natural environments. As the concept of revealing one's intrinsic nature indicates, the prime mission of Buddhism is to enable all of us to blossom to the fullest of our potential. The fulfillment of the individual, however, cannot be realized in conflict with or at the expense of others, like having people do experimental vaccinations. Still not over that, of course, because I need an apology from SGI about that policy that they tried to push on everyone that a lot of my fellow members took and then now are suffering with cancer. Okay, the fulfillment of the individual, however, cannot be realized in conflict with or at the expense of others, but only through active appreciation of uniqueness and differences, for these are the varied hues that together blossom into the flower or garden of life. The Daishonin's teaching also contain the following imagery, quote, it is like the situation when one faces a mirror and makes a bow of obeisance. The image in the mirror likewise makes a bow of obeisance to oneself. And I think this beautiful expression, that was the end quote right there. I think this beautiful expression, the all-encompassing causality that is the heart of Buddhism, the respect we demonstrate for the lives of others returns to us with mirror-like certainty, ennobling our lives. Oh, good. I'm going to move into this. Oh, no, he's not moving. The Buddhist principle of a dependent origination reflects a cosmology in which all humans and natural phenomena come into existence within a matrix of interrelatedness. Thus, we are urged to respect the uniqueness of each existence, which supports and nourishes all within the larger living whole. What distinguishes the Buddhist view of interdependence is that it is based on a direct, intuitive appreciation of the cosmic life immanent in all phenomena. Therefore, Buddhism unequivocally rejects all forms of violence as an assault on the harmony that underlies and binds the web of being. By focusing on the deepest and most universal dimension of life, we can extend a natural empathy toward life in its infinite diversity. It is the failure of empathy that is the end. That is, the end makes violence possible. That in the end makes violence possible. Sorry. Okay, 3. The national to human sovereignty. From national to human sovereignty. Okay. Undeniably, sovereign states and issues of national sovereignty have been the prime actor of much of the war and violence of the 20th century. Modern wars waged as a legitimate exercise of state sovereignty have involved entire populations willy-nilly in untold tragedy and suffering. The League of Nations and later the United Nations, each founded in the bitter aftermath of global conflict, were, in a sense, attempts to create an overarching system that would restrain and temper state sovereignty. Excuse me. We must acknowledge, however, that this bold project today remains far from the realization of its original aims. The United Nations approaches its 50th anniversary in 1996, laden with a trying array of problems. It is my belief that if it is to become a true, quote-unquote, Parliament of Humanity, the United Nations must base itself on the so-called soft power of consensus and agreement reached through dialogue, and that the enhancement of its functions must be accompanied by a shift away from traditional military-centered conceptualization of security. It is to be hoped that through the creation of a new Environment and Development Security Council, for example, the United Nations would be empowered to engage the pressing questions of human security with renewed energy and focus. In this effort, it is essential that we effect a paradigm shift from national to human sovereignty, which means my body is my choice. I don't have to take any vaccination if I don't want to take any vaccination, especially if I'm naturally immune because I had the COVID coup. In this effort, it is essential that we effect a paradigm shift from national to human sovereignty, an idea expressed powerfully by the words, quote, "we the people," with which the UN Charter opens. Concretely, we must promote the kind of grassroots education that will foster world citizens committed to the shared welfare of humanity, and we must foster solidarity among them. From the viewpoint of Buddhism, the transformation from state to human sovereignty comes down to the question of how to develop the resources of character that can bravely challenge and wisely temper the seemingly overwhelming power of official authority. Indeed, Buddhism possesses a rich tradition of transcending secular authority and making it relative through appeals to and reliance on inner moral law. For example, when Shakyamuni was asked by a Brahmin named Sela, S-E-L-A, to become a king of kings, a chief of men, Shakyamuni replied that he was already a king of the supreme truth. Equally striking is the drama of Shakyamuni halting the plans of the imperial state of Magadha. It's Magadha. Magadha. To exterminate the Vajrayana republics. In the presence of the minister of Magadha, who had come with brazen attempts to inform Shakyamuni of the planned invasion, Shakyamuni asked his disciples 7 questions about the Vajrayans, with some elaboration. These are, quote, do they value discussion and dialogue? 2, do they value cooperation and solidarity? 3, do they value laws and traditions? All 3 of these would be no for the U.S. government right now. They try to censor everyone's dialogue on the internet. Cooperation and solidarity, no. They believe in jailing their opponents with frivolous lawsuits. Do they value law and tradition? No. They use the law weaponized. Do they respect their elders? No. They let Joe Biden stay in office even though he was demented, which is elderly abuse. Do they respect children and women? No. That's why they locked everyone down and destroyed their livelihoods, caused children to become demented. I went back to working in schools, public schools, after the pandemic, and the kids were just totally out of control because they were locked in their homes for no reason. Do they respect religion and spirituality? No. They shut down every religion. Do they value people and culture and learning? No. They try to censor everything you do on the internet. Whether they be Vajrayans or not, are they open to such influences from abroad? The answer to each of these questions was yes. Shakyamuni then explained to the minister of Magadha that so long as the Vajrayans continue to observe these principles, they will prosper and not decline. Thus, he explained, it will be impossible to conquer them. So our nation is now extremely conquerable because we don't respect any of these things. We try to censor everyone's speech. We try to censor everyone's dialogue. We try to keep them from having dialogue. We try to demonize people. We try to throw people in jail if they're our opponents. We try to frivolous lawsuits against them. We do elderly abuse by keeping people in power who don't have any sense of clarity about their life. They should be in a retirement home. The answer to each of these okay, we read that one. These are the famous 7 principles the 7 principles preventing decline. So if you have these 7 principles, you won't decline, but our country's in decline because every one of these 7 principles are being violated, and were drastically violated during the COVID coup. These are we just read that. The 7 guidelines by which communities prosper, expounded by Shakyamuni during his last travels. It is interesting to note the parallel with contemporary efforts to establish security not through military might, but through the promotion of democracy, social development, and human rights. This incident is also a vivid portrait of Shakyamuni's dignity and status as a king of the supreme truth, addressing secular authority. We propagate the Buddha's wisdom through dialogue. The 3 transformations I have outlined come together in the process of human revolution. The transformation of the inner life, its expansion toward and merger with the greater self of wisdom, compassion, and courage. It is my firm conviction that a fundamental revolution in the life of a single individual can give rise to the kind of consciousness and solidarity that will free humanity from its millennial cycle of warfare and violence. Oh shit, someone just moved out of that spot. I'm moving to fuck. Okay, that's my spot, G. Right there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I know you wanted it too, but too bad. I got it.
Their own Christ. I think that's just this place we live in, and that there's just super, like, there's multiple levels.
Okay. That's one of my favorite podcasts. That is Sam Tripoli. What's his podcast that I like the most? I like the one that, Tinfoil Hat. That's the best one. Okay, where were we? Seeking to live up to that spiritual inheritance, I began my own dialogue with the world citizens here in Hawaii 35 years ago. It is my determination to devote the rest of my life to the endeavor which I hope I will share with you, marshaling the manifest wisdom of peace to create a new era of hope and security in the coming century. In closing, I would like to share the following words of Mahatma Gandhi, whose lifetime devotion to the themes we discussed today have long inspired my profound affection and respect. Quote, "You have to stand against the whole world, although you may have to stand alone." Yes, I did, against even Soka Gakkai when it was doing terrible mandates to medical experimentation on the members. You have to stare the world in the face, although the world may look at you with bloodshot eyes. Do not fear. I lost my district leadership position because I refused to go along with the mandates. Do not fear. Trust that little thing in you which resides in your heart. But I trusted my heart because I knew I was right, and no one was willing to prove me wrong. Like the Daishonin said, he won't go along with someone until they prove him wrong with dialogue, and no one was willing to do that because no one had the right answer. They just pettied the lies of the government, which is the worst form of authoritarianism, which Daisaku Ikeda talked against in every one of his writings for the last 60 years. Okay, the next section is called Nichiren Daishonin, His Life, Vow, and Great Compassion. Installation 13, The Sato Exile, Part 1. This is a translation of the installment of the Soka Gakkai Study Department series published in May 2023 issue of Daibyaku Renge, the Soka Gakkai Monthly Study Journal. Okay. After a long journey from Echi, which is Echigo, which is where I lived in Niigata, Nichiren Daishonin was escorted to Teradomari, which is, I've gone to that port many times. It's close to the Kashiwazaki nuclear power plant, where he stayed for several days waiting for favorable winds to make the journey by boat to his ultimate place of exile, Sato Island. I've not taken the Teradomari ferry. I've always taken the one from Niigata port. But I guess they still use that route because it's faster because of the winds go that way. Certain times of the day they can catch the winds, and that's why they used to only go from Teradomari back before they had motors. Okay, at Teradomari, Teradomari, sorry. My wife's name is Mari, M-A-R-I. I don't think that's the same kanji. At Teradomari, he wrote the letter to Toki Jonin, entrusting it to the lay priest that Toki had sent to accompany him. Yes, thank you very much. I'll take that one. Okay, kids, I gotta go to work. I'll read this later.